Get ready to dive into a world where the line between science fiction and reality is completely erased. In this video, we're counting down 10 unbelievable cases of extinct animals being brought back to life. And yes, this is actually happening right now. From Ice Age beasts to freaks of nature that seemed lost forever, you'll discover the most ambitious and controversial projects in modern biotechnology. And the craziest part? Some of these animals are already alive. So buckle up, because we're restarting from number 10 and working our way up to the most shocking resurrection ever attempted. Number 1 will blow your mind. At number 10, we have the massive moa, flightless bird that once roamed the lush forests of New Zealand and stood as tall as 10 feet, roughly the height of a basketball hoop. These gentle giants could weigh over 500 pounds and were the apex herbivores of their environment, shaping entire ecosystems just by the way they foraged for food. Their extinction, which happened around the year 1400, was rapid and devastating, directly linked to overhunting by the Ambori, who had only recently settled the islands. Unlike many other extinct species, the moa disappeared without ever encountering invasive species or environmental collapse. Was a clean, human-driven extinction. Fast forward to today, and scientists are diving deep into ancient DNA, extracted from exceptionally well-preserved moa bones and eggshell fragments found in caves and swamps. Using cutting-edge CRISPR, gene editing tools, they attempting to reprogram the DNA of the Inuit's closest living relative to recreate a bird that hasn't walked the earth in centuries. But this isn't just a stunt to play God with nature. Reviving the moa could restore ecological balance to parts of New Zealand's wilderness, where native plants evolved specifically alongside these birds. If successful, this would become the largest bird on the planet and one of the most astonishing examples of de-extinction to date. It's not just science, it's a resurrection with real-world impact. Coming in at number 9 is a project pulled straight from the icy tombs of Siberia, the Ice Age steppe lemming, a tiny rodent that once scurried across the mammoth-dominated landscapes of prehistoric Eurasia. This little survivor lived alongside saber-toothed cats and woolly rhinos, forming a crucial link in the food chain for countless Ice Age predators. What makes this project so groundbreaking is the state of preservation. Scientists discovered entire specimens frozen in 30,000-year-old permafrost, with fur, organs, and even stomach contents still intact. That level of preservation is a genetic goldmine. Using advanced genomic sequencing, researchers have already reconstructed large portions of the steppe lemming's DNA, and now they're pushing into uncharted territory, cloning ancient cells and fusing them with the eggs of modern-day relatives like the collared lemming. If they succeed, it will be the first time a fully extinct Ice Age mammal, no matter how small, has been brought back through biotechnology. But the implications are far bigger than just one rodent. This project is the prototype for what many are calling a frozen zoo, a library of species preserved in permafrost, waiting to be reawakened. In other words, this isn't just about a lemming. It's the first test case for reviving an entire lost ecosystem, one cryogenically sealed for millennia. At number 8, say hello to the quagga. A bizarre and beautiful creature that looked like nature, couldn't decide between a zebra and a horse, with bold stripes only on the front half of its body and a plain brown rear. The quagga once galloped across the plains of South Africa in massive herds until it was hunted into extinction in the late 1800s. For decades, it was considered lost forever, till scientists made a surprising discovery. Modern zebras still carry fragments of quagga DNA, like a genetic time capsule, hidden in plain sight. This kicked off the Quagga Project, an ambitious and unconventional resurrection effort based not on cloning, but selective breeding. By identifying and mating zebras with the most quagga-like traits, researchers have gradually recreated animals that look almost identical to their extinct ancestors. These Roe quaggas, named after project founder Reinhold Roe, now roam protected areas in South Africa, giving proof that genetic echoes from the past can be reawakened through careful selection and persistence. What makes this case so unique is that it bypasses labs and genetic modification altogether. No CRISPR, no cloning chambers, just a blend of deep biological knowledge and evolutionary detective work. In a world obsessed with futuristic tech, The quagga's return reminds us that sometimes the most powerful science starts with simply looking back and choosing differently. In seventh place is one of the weirdest and most mind-bending creatures ever recorded. The Gastric-Brooding Frog, an amphibian that quite literally turned its stomach into a womb. Native to the rainforests of eastern Australia, this frog had a reproductive trick no other vertebrate ever evolved. The female would swallow her fertilized eggs, shut down her stomach acid, and incubate the developing tadpoles inside her gut. Weeks later, she would give birth through her mouth, spitting out fully formed froglets like some real-life fantasy creature. Sadly, this medical marvel vanished completely by the mid-1980s, likely due to habitat destruction and disease. But in 2013, researchers at the University of New South Wales used a technique called somatic cell nuclear transfer, the same method used to clone Dolly the sheep, to reanimate early-stage embryos using DNA preserved from frozen specimens. The embryos only survived for a few days, but that short life was historic. It marked the first time scientists had partially resurrected an extinct species with such a unique biology. What's even more fascinating is the biomedical goldmine this frog represents. Its ability to suppress stomach acid and regenerate tissue during gestation could hold clues to treating ulcers, healing damaged organs, or even controlling cancer cells. So, while the idea of a frog giving birth through its mouth might sound like sci-fi horror, its return could become one of the most life-saving resurrections science has ever attempted. Number 6 brings us to one of the most haunting stories in the history of extinction. The Passenger Pigeon, a bird that once darkened the skies of North America in flocks so massive they could block out the sun for hours. In the 1800s, their population was estimated in the billions, making them the most abundant bird species on the planet. But within a single century, relentless hunting and habitat destruction wiped them out completely. The last known passenger pigeon, named Martha, died in captivity in 1914 at the Cincinnati Zoo, marking the end of an era. Today, however, scientists at Harvard and the nonprofit Revive and Restore are pushing to undo that extinction using cutting-edge gene editing technologies like CRISPR. Their method splice key genetic traits from preserved passenger pigeon DNA into the genome of its closest living relative, the band-tailed pigeon. The result would be a living flying hybrid that looks and behaves like the original passenger pigeon, with plans to eventually reintroduce them into the wild. But this project isn't just about nostalgia or spectacle. It's about rewilding ecosystems that once depended on the bird. As presents for seed dispersal and forest regeneration, still, there's a major challenge. The modern world is nothing like the one these birds dominated. Cities, pollution, climate change, and fragmented forests pose new threats. So, the big question remains: can science revive a species and also rebuild its world? If successful, the return of the passenger pigeon won't just be a miracle of genetics. It'll be a daring leap into a future where extinction is no longer the end of the story. In fifth place is a groundbreaking moment that forever redefined what it means to be extinct. The return, however, brief of the Pyrenean Ibex, also known as the bucardo. This rugged mountain goat once roamed the steep cliffs of northern Spain, known for its massive backward curving horns and ability to thrive in harsh alpine terrain. The clone was born alive, taking its first breaths into a world where its kind no longer existed. But just 7 minutes later, the animal died from a lung defect, making it both the first species in history to go extinct, and then be resurrected, and then go extinct again. It was a bittersweet moment, but it shattered the boundary between extinction and possibility. Scientists no longer saw extinction as a final sentence. It became a technical challenge, something that could potentially be reversed with the right tools and enough data. And while the bucardo never got its second chance at life, it paved the way for dozens of de-extinction projects around the world. Its short return marked the dawn of an era where science could challenge the very definition of life and death. Number 4 is one of the most promising resurrection projects in the world, the Tasmanian tiger, or thylacine, officially declared extinct in 1936. This predator is being revived by splicing its genes into those of its closest living relative, the dunnart. Scientists are already building embryos with thylacine DNA and plan to reintroduce them into the wilds of Australia. The project has international backing and is one of the closest to full resurrection. If it works, it won't just be a scientific triumph, it'll be an ecological redemption. At number 3, we enter legend territory, the woolly mammoth. This Ice Age giant is being resurrected by the same company behind the dire wolf colossiensis. Using preserved mammoth DNA and Asian elephant genes, scientists are building a hybrid mammoth elephant capable of surviving in Arctic climates. The goal? To restore ancient tundra ecosystems and even slow climate change. This is not just genetic engineering, it's environmental reprogramming on a global scale. Number 2 goes to the one and only dire wolfa, predator made famous by memes, movies, and now modern labs. Extinct for over 10,000 years, it's been brought back through DNA sequencing and gene editing using modern wolves. The result? 3 living hybrid pups named Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi. They're alive and thriving in a U.S. wildlife reserve. It's one of the boldest moves in genetic science and proof that we now have the tools to recreate ancient predators in the flesh. And finally, number 1, the most shocking and powerful resurrection happening today isn't about just one animal. It's about the rise of de-extinction itself. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's a revolution. These projects represent more than just second chances for lost species. They mark humanity's shift into a new role. The engineer of evolution. We are now rewriting nature's rules, deciding who lives, who comes back, and what future we're building. But here's the real question. Are we ready for a world where extinction isn't permanent? Because once we open that door, there's no going back. If you love this wild journey into the future of life on Earth, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because in our next videos, we'll dive deeper into these labs, meet the creatures firsthand, and reveal what could go wrong when science resurrects the past. Till then, remember, nature doesn't forget. And now, it's coming back.